Nelson, so that's Mbasa and Wonder. And so let's talk about memorable moments. Memorable, meaningful, things that stuck out for you, things that stayed with you, yeah.
The waitress.
The waitress. Okay, why? Can you be a little bit...
When she was telling everyone how she survives on tips and telling people that, nah, this is not KFC, she survives on tips, and it was very...
Do you think that with the waitress, do you think that it made a difference, the fact that she was so silent for much of it, and then when she finally spoke, she had this kind of big monologue? Did that...
It was like, almost like a surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah?
The bottle opener.
What about the bottle opener?
When he said, do anybody have a bottle opener? And so I told him to use his mouth.
So did you feel like that was a moment of sort of almost audience interaction happening there? That was quite nice. Okay, great. Yeah.
For me, it's the vocal quality of the actors. If I was in another room, I would swear that those were kind of like older people talking, like they were commentator. I can say I was seeing them there, but I was seeing other characters in my mind, although I was listening to them reading, so that was powerful.
Sure. Yeah, thank you.
My favorite moment was when Amy, the cook, when she said, I forgot, she said something about the cafeteria. I got that. That was really funny.
Okay, yeah, so some cunning there was really clever.
The swearing was very memorable for me. because they don't usually swear like in reality they don't. They're not people that swear, so just
Thank you.
What struck me was the director's choice of actually presenting us with a reading, with everybody sitting reading, so that we could really focus on listening, because it was quite a vast episodic piece, and we moved from place to place, and I thought that choice to let us just listen was a very strong choice.
Yeah, and yet with that there seemed to also be some very strong staging choices. You know, just the fact that we had this long table, and so there were things that made a visual impact despite the fact that they were mostly just
And the
sitting.
female actor standing and then sitting, very simple but clear. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, a lot of comments over here. But
that was what I was going to pick up on that, because I think that it was the moment of seeing a process, of seeing that before. It felt like the director was saying, this is a process, and I'm respecting the process of it being a play reading. And I thought that was, and allowing us to understand the process and just listen to the text was a very strong and important moments sustained.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Okay, a lot of comments. Let's go down the road. So starting from Kat, and then Richard, and then Tunga, yeah?
I think what's memorable, and it might be misconstrued as a comment, is how real the incorporation of the swearing was. It wasn't swearing for the sake of swear. And you forget how much they've sworn in the past. I like the fact that I could get to another moment and forget that I just heard, a sentence that started with the S word.
Okay.
I really liked the way, it wasn't intentional because there's an audience there, but everyone was sitting around the table like the Last Supper. That's the famous painting. But what was quite interesting is that it was quite distilled, and using text and cell phones in plays. Theatre needs to also catch up with our times, and that is such a reality, and especially a reality that the youth face. They've grown up with cell phones, and so that's such an integral part of our lives. And as older playwrights, we tend to try and avoid that, just because we're not as comfortable with it. And having that, and even that moment where everyone's just sitting, and the vibrating of the phone going off and just reading text. And you see that every day. You see people sitting around, a family sitting around a dinner table, all looking at their phones and interacting, not with each other, being in each other's presence, but interacting with people outside of that space. And I think that creates a very interesting commentary on the times that we're in.
Thank you, Tunga.
I was struck by the way the selection was concluded. The last words, that question. Like, is this how Kosa men will be defined? With the bottles and also they are men. Let me think.
Nice.
After all you say.
Okay. Any other memorable, meaningful moments that you want to highlight? Yes, on Gesma?
For me, it was how the script actually presented South African problems or narratives, but also tried to interrogate them. So it wasn't presenting just that. Yeah, there was an attempt of actually engaging with, yeah.
Great, thank you. You want to...
The girl played David at some point. That
She was kind of the voice in his head in a way.
and the director's choice to use a girl to be the voice in David's head, especially when the Langa was approaching. I mean, the girl then freaks out like, "Yo, David, run!" You know, that right there was quite beautiful. How the voice was for the female, and the voice also became the voice in Ayanda's head as well. That right there, that the one thing that connects these two is this one particular voice. That was quite beautiful.
Okay, right. So what questions do you have for your audience? Mbasa, do you want to go first?
Do you think I'm racist? No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I think it's a great question.
No, I guess that's not the particular question, but it is what I was hoping for it to be was, you know, for you guys to also interrogate it and ask yourselves certain questions, and for me not to just give you the answers. So, how else do I ask if you think I'm racist? I mean,
maybe was it like did the play make you think about race?
Yeah, I think, and on what level? I mean, as you sit now, as you know, post-born freeze, and everything is hunky dory. Did that piece perhaps make you just think, okay, yeah, we're Afri, but things are a bit shaky wakey?
Okay, let's hear from the audience first, the young audience first, younger audience. How did you feel about that question? Yeah.
I don't think you were racist completely, but I actually like the fact that you put those different aspects of racism into the play, because we don't live in that society that much anymore. There is still racism, but there's not that much. And the fact that you put it into that play just made me think back on what other people had to fight against in order to get us to where we are now. So that was really dope.
That's interesting. Yeah. Do you want to say something? No. Okay. Yeah.
I think it was a truth, like, because although like all the apartheid and stuff is gone, like, it will still be there, like, it will, like, the memories and the stuff will still be there. Like,
Yeah. Anybody else want to comment on that? Yeah.
I think that, we all have opinions about racism, but, you know, racism is a disease and it's also about power. And I think that what you did was you interrogated those conditions. But there's also something about how racism can be quite subtle. And it doesn't have to be extreme. Racism can be perpetrated in a very simple gesture that suggests something about power and about disease. It's not necessarily the extreme of the Zappo versus, you know, the SS. There's something else which says, I might be better than you just by the way that I open a door, rather than the extremities that are being presented.
Well, it was sort of to ask Mbasa if I could add on sort of his question of, well, to the audience. Do you think agreeing with some of the things that you saw happening or some of the opinions that you saw on here, like when the black people were saying stuff about the white person, that made you somewhat racist or racialized? Because as you're saying, you know, some of this is removed from you. But when a black character is like, yeah, but no, like, you know, calm down, I'm not gonna rob you. And then they do it, like, but before that, it's like, okay, wait, like, do you feel that do you judge yourself for agreeing with some of the stuff, the racial stuff, is the question, I guess. That was...
You're nodding, do you? Okay, yeah, Femina?
I do in a way, because sometimes I think, okay, my friends say I have flow jokes, so sometimes just like I want to be funny. It's real, but then I just put it in a funny way, you know. It's like, for example, if a white guy walks past, and then I'd be like, oh man, he's gay. But oh my word, can you see the sun's actually shining on him? Like, you know, flow jokes. So it's and I'd be like,
An extension of this question is that a lot of the time you were using humor to bring across those sort of racial stereotypes or attitudes or whatever. And often what we found ourselves doing was laughing at something and then kind of going, oh, did I really laugh? You know? Is that, should that be funny? Did you have that experience at all? Yeah? Okay, yes?
I just want to comment, you know, like, you know, that whole racial thing between when a black person dating a white person, that was very realistic, and it was good that he put that in, because it's true that sometimes if a black person is walking with a white lady, and they're not even necessarily dating, people start talking and all of that, and that's real. It happens.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, get to it. Ethan, thank you.
Like the one who was a butterfly when tied it to analysis, that you always make everything racist, political, sorry. When the fly by and you like,
Okay, so that was a moment that you laughed at, obviously, at the time. Okay, great, yeah.
I don't completely judge myself about laughing at those racist jokes because I'm human and obviously I'm going to laugh at something that I think is funny. And if I didn't laugh, obviously it's not funny. So, I don't...
Well, not to you, maybe.
Not to me, but to, you know, in the whole... But I don't completely judge myself about the racist jokes that I laugh at. Because they are funny. They won't
Right.
be racist.
Do you have any other questions for your audience? Yeah.
Also, just from a different perspective, in the sense of this whole concept of Catholic that you just made also had in there. Now, I was born under apartheid, so I know that if you heard that word being, when somebody would have under apartheid called you Catholic, it would have, and immediately I feel that because all of the negativity that would come and hurt and almost wanting to fight. But the difference now is if you hear that word, it's more something of, well, there's something wrong with that person's education more than really wanting to fight. Although they still hurt, but it's just that, I don't know if it's just because I'm older and you've grown a bit out of the hurt and all of that. But I just want to say that the context, the meaning that comes out of Kaffir for me has, in a way, changed because of knowing that all these laws and things that's in place, that you can go further with that should you want to choose to do it. Right. So I just think there's a bit of a more of a relaxed feeling towards that.
Do you have other questions for your audience? Do they have questions for you? What questions do you have for either the cast or writer, director? Yes.
Was the part where the waitress goes like, Jesus of Nazareth, she goes, Nazareth, something like that. What's it again? Nazareth. Was it planned? Or was it just like...
Because like some of the words, like people like are struggling to pronounce. So like if you're a director and then you just make it like sound deliberate, you know.
Make the correction.
Yeah?
What age group does he plan to show it to?
Okay, what age group is this for?
Yeah, it's your young adults. So it's you guys. I'm looking at your 14, 15 to perhaps young adults. It's interesting that you asked that, because what we spoke about initially was you need to grab your young audiences from a very young age. That's when you get them. So there was a point when I did feel guilty with the particular age group that I had chosen, but then at the same time, just watching how you guys engaged with the text, but also engaged outside of it. One of my goals of creating a discourse about what was going on in the piece was sufficed. So, yeah.
There's absolutely no reason to feel guilty about what age group you choose. I think the important thing is just being clear. Some other player will be responsible for grabbing them at the youngest possible age. If this is the story you want to tell, it's about knowing who that story's most appropriately for. So, yeah, it makes total sense. Yes?
I have a question. Were they supposed to sit down throughout the entire act?
Yes, that was my plan. That's why I said. But I don't want to take his to steal. Not saying that people like other directors did the same thing, but I don't want to steal his spotlight. My focus was the script, and that is the beginning. When you're a director, that's what you do. Your actors sit down, you give them scripts, they read the script, you make them understand, the emotional arc of the script and the characters. That was my plan. Just sit down and read the script, root to the emotion, to the dialogue, and the dialogue to the voice, and bring all those elements together. And that was my plan. Was it?
Thank you. Over there.
How were you inspired to write the play?
Sorry? What inspired you? How were you inspired to write the play?
There was a previous draft that it was merely theatre for theatre's sake. So it was all about posing these questions and then leaving and then being fulfilled. What happened was, it was around about the time that Tata Nelson Mandela was sick. And so on social media, there were debates about, why is it that history and, we as people, why is it that we thank Nelson Mandela only, whereas, there's Olive Tambo, and then there's this, and then there's that. And, not every black person or white person, colored people, that we're not all emancipated, so why are we thanking this guy? So that was the initial a spark. The title, Waiting for Nelson, I didn't say Waiting for Nelson Mandela, I could have said Waiting for Gandhi. So it dealt with the politics of what was going on at that time, but in a social context, like with us, as opposed to a parliamentary, what's the word I'm looking for? A strict vibe. Formal sort of setting, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Ethan?
Were the actors comfortable swearing?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Do you want to ask them? How did you feel about the swearing, guys? Who wanted to swear?
It made me feel good in a way. Because at home you're not allowed to swear. So yeah. You can just let your frustrations out.
I was going to touch on the fact that I was mugging Tariq. That I felt good because I've experienced being mugged myself, so I got the chance to actually do it myself.
Loss. I know that racism was obviously going through your head when you writing this play, conflict. Yeah, now I want to ask what else was going through your head when you thought of writing this piece.
I was at a semi-private school in the Eastern Cape, Selborne, so they were, you know, there was a transition with the people that I hung out with. At a younger, more simple age, it was cool. I had my white friend, but for me it wasn't having white friends or having black friends or anything. But then the older I grew up in high school, that's when it became more articulated. If I hung out too much with my white friends, then my black mates would be like, oh, weekend, you want to come with us? It's not going to happen. And then my white friends would be like, you know, I don't ever, like, comments like that just make me laugh. You know, I don't dislike black people. It's just, you know, certain blacks that I don't like. So I mean, it's like what you were speaking about. It's funny. It's just hilarious. So the biggest inspiration was the whole, you know, we sit on issues and we don't like express them. We don't speak about them. We're just like, oh, that was funny. Okay, what's for supper? So I just really wanted us to with this piece to come into an environment, laugh, don't laugh, discuss like exactly what like we're doing now, but then not just keep it here and stop here. Go out there and do whatever you're doing is. Go out there and do. Go out there and discuss. And if something's bothering you, don't just sit under and dust it under the carpet. Engage.
Okay, yeah.
So what happens after this extract?
No, I'm joking. No, what happens is, so we've seen that David and Eva, you know, they're going through a hell of a lot of, you know, issues. David wanting to meet the father and stuff like that. But before the David actually meets the father, I then totally, I break there were elements of me breaking the fourth wall with Tyreek, David, you know, speaking to you guys, hey Eva, whatnot. But then what happens is the characters totally break it. They themselves engage with what's been going on, and then engage with the audience on a more engaging sort of manner. So with the questions posed in the piece, they're never really answered. So I leave you in limbo.
Sorry. All right. Yes, Kat.
This is to the cast. We can do that now, right?
Yeah.
The cast. How does it feel being in a racially charged, or how did it feel being in a racially charged play in what is supposedly post-racial South Africa? So you, as you know, the black person because you've got black skin, then having to say the things that black people are expected to say. And I guess the tangent from there to Mbasa is, how do you feel about making racially charged, writing a racially charged script for a post-racial South Africa?
Any of the cast want to speak to that first? Yeah.
For me, it was a bit uncomfortable, but more I read the script, it made me think, like, this is actually what happens in the real world.
So is rather than was.
Is. It's interesting. Okay. Yeah. And for you?
Like, it's become normal. Like, racism has become like a normal thing. It's like just, it's become like part of our lives. So it's just accepting it. Because like some people will never forget like what happened in the past. So it's just normal.
Did anything make you think about whether that should be normal or not, or?
I don't think it should be normal.
Right. Okay. And I'm just looking for other cast members. You?
It felt realistic in a way. I could relate to that. Although I'm not in a racist environment because I live like in the suburbs and I'm not really ghetto, so I really struggle to act ghetto. So yeah.
And do you want to answer the end of that question?
As much as I knew that I was writing a racial piece in a so lovely, called post-racial environment, I also, told myself that it's those terms, terms like that actually then make you judge yourself and judge your work. Because if we subscribe to particular terms, I feel that then limits your true innate feelings towards particular subjects. So bringing it, to you and you seeing it as a racial piece in post-racial thing, society, it's just engaging to hear what you thought.
Okay, so let's move on to the last stage, which is opinion. So do you have any opinions that you'd like to express about this play? Yeah?
Can I offer an opinion about your choice of word that you're acting? Okay, the first swear word I heard came out so strongly, and I'm like, okay, because it came out that strong, I probably won't hear any other. But then they kept on coming, but then the way they were presented sort of made me forget that they were actually swear words because it became a reality. And I think you wrote your work so beautifully that it made us realize the power, it made me realize the power of theatre, that such a tense subject, such a difficult topic was brought out hilariously. And you were able to address all these difficult topics using humor, and that was really impressive. So thank you
so very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah?
Mine's actually a question, so can I just... I would like to know if the play actually has other parts to it, and if, or does it end there? But if it actually does it leave the audience like on edge, like to know more about what happens, or does it just, it just ends there?
No, there's definitely, there's more. There is more. I don't want to sound like that ETV guy to leave you on edge, because that would need for you to like either read more or actually watch it. But what I do hope is it keeps you engaged and entertained and thinking. Yeah.
Great. Any other last opinions that you'd like to offer?
Yes, I'm still processing it in my mind, so hopefully it will come out. I mean, there's an element of gender relations that start to come out of the play, and I don't know if that is your intention, and if you're gonna place those two with race, also it would be nice to see how they cross over, or if they clash or interrogate, I don't those elements where I'm going, those hooks that are, and I kept on, so I just, if you could explore that in the writing also, and see where that takes you.
Yes?
I like it. Well, this is opinion. I like it because it made me feel like I was watching Trevor Noah. I liked it because it made me feel like I'm watching Trevor Noah.
All right. Okay, is that the last opinion? Any other opinions you want to share before we close? Okay, very fine. Yeah.
I like the way that Ayanda brought like Mutwa back to his senses, like she said, she knows that he's hurt over the mother's death, and I actually felt kind of emotional towards that. It was kind of weird, like the moment. Although he was a little not in his senses, but yeah.
Real life. Real life.
For you guys, just hold on that for a moment, but for you guys going forward, where do you want to take this? What's your next steps? For you, Masa, what you gonna walk away with and work on with this piece?
I was very precious with this piece. So giving it to Rwanda was for me, man. It was magnificent, but it was also something new to just be able to observe, and as much as I wanted to. I'm very keen on perhaps engaging with other directors and obviously showing it to the particular age group that I wrote the piece for moving forward.
Okay. Yeah. Great. And for you, Luanda, what do you take away from this process?
Is that you need to understand your actors, because personally observe them and understand them personally, because some actors were shy in the process and they are quiet. They're shy. So you need to understand them, because if you push too much, that emotional stuff comes out. So I was really impressed with Commander's performance. Yeah. Because she's quiet. And when I still remember when I was at New Africa, I was very quiet. I couldn't act, because I was this guy. And my poetry teacher, Dinia Meyer, told me that that sometimes people box you when they say to you, this guy is quiet. He's quiet, he's quiet, he's shy. And then that's how they box us. They don't just judge us by saying negative things, but also by saying things that they think that are positive about us. So then when you want to express yourself and they're like, oh, can you talk now? Can you talk? No, please talking so we need to come out to explode and to stand our ground. Yeah. So I was very impressed with the performance, and now as Luanda, next time I'll just try to do small, just a couple of games and try to understand my actors more. Yeah, thank you very much for the process.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody here who stayed through this long day, but I think it's been a really exciting, interesting day. And with so many different plays, so many different impulses, it's been really fantastic. Thank you to everybody who was brave and who got onto the stage and shared themselves with us and shared these stories with us. And thank you for being a wonderful, wonderful audience. Woo!